In the realms of Asgard, where the shimmering branches of Yggdrasil stretched across the heavens and the whispers of the Norns threaded through time, there dwelled a goddess whose presence was as steady as the North Star Frigga, the All-Mother. Wife to Odin, the All-Father, and Queen of the Aesir, Frigga was more than just a consort. She was the goddess of love and fertility, the protector of marriage, motherhood, and the sacred hearth. Yet beneath her calm exterior lay a mind as sharp as any blade forged in the fires of Muspelheim, and a heart heavy with secrets that no mortal or god could bear to know. Frigga's hall, Fensalir the Waterhalls, was a place of serenity, where the echoes of the world outside were muted by the gentle lap of waves. Here, the air was thick with the scent of herbs and the warmth of hearth fires, a sanctuary where Frigga could weave her thoughts and ponder the fates of gods and men. Her companions Air, the goddess of healing Hlyn, the protector Fulla, the goddess of fertility and GNA, her swift messenger attended to her needs, though even they could not penetrate the depths of her wisdom. It was said that Frigga knew the destiny of every living being, that she could see the future as clearly as one might see their reflection in still waters. But this knowledge was a burden she bore alone, for she never revealed what she knew, not even to Odin. Frigga's greatest joy and her deepest sorrow was her son Balder, the god of light and peace. Balder was beloved by all who knew him, for he radiated a warmth that even the coldest heart could not resist. But with each passing day, a shadow grew in Frigga's heart, for she had seen a vision of her son lying cold and lifeless, struck down by a force she could not name. Desperate to protect him, Frigga embarked on a journey across the 9 realms, seeking out every creature, every plant, and extracting from them an oath that they would do no harm to her beloved son. She travelled to the depths of the ocean, where the great sea serpent Jormungandr swore on its coils not to harm Balder. She ventured to the highest peaks, where the eagles promised that their talons would never touch him. She even descended into the dark caverns where the dwarves toiled, and they too pledged that no weapon they forged would bring Balder to harm. When she returned to Asgard, exhausted but triumphant, Frigga believed that her son was safe. But in her exhaustive quest, she overlooked one small, insignificant plant, mistletoe. It was a mere sprig, soft and unassuming, and in her weariness, Frigga deemed it too weak to pose any threat. Yet, as the fates would have it, this oversight would prove fatal. In the shadows of Asgard, the trickster god Loki, ever hungry for chaos, watched with keen eyes. He saw the love that the gods showered upon Balder, and it stirred within him a twisted desire to bring that light to darkness. When he discovered that the mistletoe had been spared Frigga's oaths, a cruel smile curved his lips. Loki plucked a sprig of mistletoe and, with dark intent, fashioned it into a dart. Then, on the day when the gods gathered to celebrate Balder's invulnerability, tossing spears and hurling stones at him in playful jest, Loki approached Balder's blind brother, Hodar. "Would you not wish to join in the merriment?" Loki whispered to Hodar, placing the mistletoe dart in his hand. "I shall guide your aim. Let your brother know that even you and your darkness wish him well." Unaware of the treachery, Hodar allowed Loki to guide his hand. The dart flew true and pierced Balder's heart. The god of light staggered, the laughter dying on his lips as the colour drained from his face. In that moment, the warmth of Asgard seemed to fade, replaced by a cold silence. Balder fell to the ground, lifeless, and the gods, stunned and horrified, could do nothing but weep. Frigga's scream echoed across the 9 realms, a cry of grief so profound that it shook the very roots of Yggdrasil. She rushed to her son's side, her hands trembling as she cradled his head, tears streaming down her face. The sight of Balder's lifeless body, the one she had fought so hard to protect, was more than she could bear. Her heart shattered, and the weight of the prophecy she had seen so long ago crushed her. Despite all her power, all her wisdom, she had been unable to save him. Odin, too, was stricken with grief, but it was Frigga who bore the brunt of the sorrow, for it was she who had foreseen this fate and tried in vain to prevent it. Yet even in her darkest hour, Frigga did not lose hope. She implored the gods to send a messenger to Hel, the goddess of the underworld, to plead for Balder's return. Hermod, swift and brave, took up the task, riding to the land of the dead on Odin's steed Sleipnir. days passed in tense silence as the gods awaited Hermod's return. Frigga paced the halls of Fensalir, her heart heavy with dread. When Hermod finally returned, he brought news that both shattered and rekindled her hope. Hel had agreed to release Balder, but only if every living creature in the 9 realms would weep for him. Frigga wasted no time. She sent word to all corners of the cosmos, urging every being to shed a tear for her son. And they did all save one. In a remote cave hidden from the light, there lived a giantess named Thokkai, who refused to weep. Unbeknownst to Frigga, this giantess was Loki in disguise, and his refusal sealed Balder's fate. With a heart as cold as the mistletoe that had killed him, Loki ensured that Balder would remain in Hel's icy grip. As the news spread, Frigga's heart grew heavy with a sorrow that would never fade. The light of Asgard had dimmed, and in its place, a cold shadow loomed. Yet Frigga was not one to surrender to despair. She knew that the cycle of life and death was ever turning, and that one day, Balder would rise again in a new world, after Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. But until that day, Frigga carried her grief like a mantle, her heart forever haunted by the sight of her son's lifeless body. She withdrew to Fensalir, her once vibrant halls now quiet and somber. The distaff, spindle, and keys symbols of her dominion lay untouched, as Frigga mourned the loss of her beloved son. Yet even in her sorrow, Frigga's mind remained sharp. She had been outwitted by Loki once, but never again would she allow herself to be so blindsided. She turned her focus to the affairs of mortals, for she knew that the struggles of men often mirrored those of the gods, and in guiding them, she could perhaps find solace. One such struggle came in the form of a bitter dispute between 2 tribes, the Vandals, whom Odin favoured, and the Winailers, whom Frigga supported. The Vandals were fierce and strong, and Odin was certain they would prevail. He swore to Frigga that he would grant victory to the tribe he first laid eyes upon when he awoke the next morning. Confident in his choice, for his bed faced the camp of the Vandals, Odin went to sleep, certain of the outcome. But Frigga, ever resourceful, would not see her chosen people defeated. She appeared to the Winalar women in a dream, instructing them to unbind their long hair and drape it over their faces like beards. Then, under the cover of night, she quietly turned Odin's bed around so that when he awoke, his eyes fell not upon the Vandals, but upon the Winailers, who now appeared as a host of long-bearded warriors. Odin, surprised but bound by his word, named them the Langobards, or Lombards, after their long beards, and granted them victory. The Winailers, under Frigga's watchful gaze, triumphed, and their name would be remembered through the ages. Thus, Frigga's influence extended far beyond the realms of the gods. In the lives of mortals, she found a new purpose, guiding them through their struggles, and in doing so, she kept the memory of her son alive. Though Balder was lost to her, Frigga's love for him would endure, woven into the very fabric of the world. And so, in the quiet halls of Fensalir, Frigga continued to weave the threads of fate, her hands steady, her heart heavy, but her spirit unbroken. She knew that the time would come when Balder would return, when the light would once again shine in Asgard. Until then, she would wait, as she always had, with the patience of the earth and the wisdom of the ages, for the day when her son would rise, and the world would be reborn.